Hello there and welcome. The Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute, NIBRI, is a parastatal under the aegis of the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology. It was established back in 1978 and has the mandate to conduct integrated research and development activities into several aspects of the construction industry. Now, in line with the transformation agenda of the present administration, efforts have been made to change, if you like, science and technology for the better, especially in the area of creating indigenous technology to facilitate the development of building and roads in Nigeria. This week we shall be speaking with our guest, Professor Danladi Matawal, the Director General of NIBRI, to find out what strides have been made so far. Has the parastatal been able to achieve its set vision, which is to build capacity and set the pace in indigenous construction technology development? Professor Matawal is a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, a registered engineer on the role of the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, talking about COREN, a corporate member of the Solar Energy Society of Nigeria. He's an erudite scholar, and Professor Matawal, who is from Plateau State, holds a doctorate of philosophy in civil engineering back in 1992. He has also worked as a lecturer at the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University in Bauchi. He assumed his appointment at NIBRI on March the 1st, 2011. Well, join me in this revealing interview, and I'll see you after that. I'm Ayatunde Balogun, and this is Question Time. Professor Matawal, you're welcome to Question Time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Now, it is an honor to have you here with us to look at a government parastatal, talking about science and technology, and that's the Nigeria Building and Road Research Institute. Of course, as the Director General, how has it been in these past few months since you took the helm of office?
When I took over, I promised to do a number of things. I promised to lift the profile of Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute, particularly in the area of office accommodation, basic research facilities, the issue of research personnel, which were short, as well as facilities in terms of equipment, obsoleteness of equipment. I want to say that we have achieved to a large measure some of the promises. We have moved to a new office block in Abuja. We have invited external assessors to take a look at our laboratories and give us their opinion. We have retrained some of our laboratory personnel.
It's a good one that you pointed out, talking about research, because that is basically, should I say, your mandate,
yes,
trying to develop research in areas of building, roads, and all whatnot. But then people will still argue that we're not seem to be getting, or we've not been able to see much from the Institute. How would you react to that in terms of going out in the field and in terms of road construction in particular? Because, of course, major cities around the country, we have road construction going on, and you will expect to have officials of the Institute doing some kind of a feasibility study or field work.
Thank you very much. We had a seminar here on the assessment of the traffic characteristics of Abuja metropolis. Now, this is a new initiative in the area of transportation. We also have research staff in OTA who have been placed to look at, to assess and give us some insight into traffic characteristics in Lagos. Now, we want to formulate models based on these two cities, and we spread them around the country. We have also approved a research on Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway to look at the traffic on that road, to look at the pavement situation on that road, and to use it as a model to recommend a number of measures to alleviate the continuous failure of pavements. We have also made submission because there was supposed to be a forum with the National Assembly who are so concerned about road pavement failure in the country. This made us to run around the country to look at a lot of pavement failures, to come up with a preliminary opinion that will form the basis for both research and activities in that direction. So we are taking the bull by the horn on the issues of road pavement failure, on the issues of transportation sector as well.
So you'd say that we are actually getting it right in terms of the construction now, mainly roads?
Well, we are beginning with the research. I want to tell you that it will take some time to correct that. First of all, we've got to look at the existing situation. What is happening that things are going the way they are? If you want to call it failure, why are we failing? If we are not moving at the rate we should, why is it so? Now, we want to look at this. We have a preliminary opinion, but we want to be able to back up this with data and facts. Now, having formed that opinion from the research viewpoint, you will now look at the avenues for alleviating the situation. How do you address the deficiencies that we have in construction? Is it the issue of equipment? Is it the issue of personnel? Is it the issue of materials? I can tell you that there's a lot to talk about, because we would have jumped the gun by going on a conference saying we have data, but that data will only be basic. It will not be peculiar to Nigeria.
Now, you talk about Julius Berger, or you made mention of Julius Berger just now. I'm now looking at foreign construction companies, or shall I say multinational construction companies in the country, who come to build structures, build roads, build buildings and what have you. But I ask, have we actually developed into making use of alternative building systems or techniques?
Well, in the specific road sector you have mentioned,
all right.
You probably the time to answer the question earlier was insufficient. Do we have an indigenous construction culture, which is in line with the mandate of Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute? Yes, we have gone some distance, in the sense that we have this access and feeder road technology. We are not looking for very robust, very expensive, very imposing equipment to be available all the time. We are saying that when the construction gets very intricate, so the demands are on equipment. And of course, we need to start somewhere. And Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute has not only been experimenting, it has been doing extension services, which are the applications of research findings in the construction of access and feeder road projects in the country. This year, we have been involved in Kaduna State, where we have taken a 7-kilometer road, a rural road called Dandamisa Marke, off Zaria Kaduna Expressway. And we have been doing it directly using what we call the labor-based light equipment approach, where you use local labor, unemployed youth, to cut, to shape, and to do a lot of operations in the field. We use our roller compactor in order to get the surface going. And we're looking into possibilities of also applying our own technology for surface dressing and asphalt works. So this is in the right direction. You don't need to go robust on very light roads, light traffic roads. But as the equipment, as the demands become very heavy, you also have to use very sophisticated equipment. And we hope that when we start somewhere, we'll get there. This is where some of the foreign firms come in.
All right, now let's look at the issue of funding. I know for an institute of this nature, funding is critical in carrying out its activities. Now, how has that been addressed?
I can tell you that 2011 we had it very rough because the resource was so small. We couldn't meet most of our plans. But we have seen a determination, a dogged determination from the side of the government. We thank the federal government, we thank our parent ministry, the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology. They have intervened, and we're going to have an improvement this year. And we hope that this is just the beginning.
But this sort of problem, or shall I say challenge, keeps recurring almost every year. And we're still talking about a problem of funding. What do you think is the problem, actually?
Well, I think it's the lack of appreciation for research. It's the lack of appreciation for research. People look at research as if it is construction. They want to see, if you are researching into building, they want to see you immediately metamorphose into a 20-story building. They forget that what we are addressing is the basic life of the ordinary Nigerian. We want to improve the life of the ordinary Nigerian. We are not looking for over sophistication. We are looking at a situation where you take a house to a person either in a slum in a city or in the rural area, and you give him a house which he does not, which is not weathered by erosion each time it rains. You give him a house that has basic facilities in terms of sanitation. You give him a house where there is basic electricity, not decorative electricity. You give him, you give the ordinary Nigerian a minimum comfort. You give them what you see in the rural areas of many European and American cities and developed economy. Now, people are not looking in that direction. They are looking at a situation where you just come in and transform. They forget that research is a matter of failure and success. Sometimes you investigate, it takes you to the end of the road, and it is a failure. But it is research, because you have stopped somebody from doing exerting wasted resources in that direction in the future. And so when these things are not coming out very well, people are not willing to encourage because they don't appreciate. The activity is latent. People don't see it. They don't see what you're doing.
So how do we correct that sort of notion in the minds of many of the people out there, especially those who are actually meant to be in the know when it comes to challenges such as these?
Well, as you said, it's not everybody that can appreciate it, because we are addressing that. Our literacy rate does not permit everybody to do so. But I think the policymakers need to have a change of orientation. In fact, there's a peculiar example we have been battling with. You know, this issue of our machines that have been designed in-house, and we use roadside fabricators to produce them. Now, people take it out there. They are not willing to wait for the time that it takes to produce a number of blocks. Yet, they may not be in a hurry, or people are not willing to have the patience of developing these machines. You know, it pains us, because they forget that these other countries started a very long time ago.
Talk about the developed countries.
Yes, they started a very long time ago. We are giving them the same products, even of higher quality, at far, far lower cost. And people are saying, no, we just want to go and import when this one is available to us. We have been very sorry that even some policymakers, we've gone very far with them. We give them on their site a machine that works, and they say, no, it doesn't have the sophistication we need. And yet it does the same thing, and the spare parts are available. The same products, people are coming, sorry, we don't like it, this machine from this country, because when it breaks down, the spare part is not available. Now, this is the impatience Nigerians have. You know, this is the sophistication they want that is not necessary for us to move forward. Because these things are meant to conserve foreign resources, they are meant to generate wealth, they are meant to create employment, and they are meant to alleviate the basic living standards of the Nigerian people at affordable cost.
So would you say this is partly due to the fact that we've been having some kinds of problems or challenges when it comes to building structures, or structures like buildings collapsing in various cities, and roads not being well maintained, and they're just left to degenerate for longer periods and for years, and we don't seem to find an answer to all these?
Well, it's not NIBRI technology that is responsible for this failure. The buildings and the structures that emanate from NIBRI technology have not failed, have not been failing, you know. I think what has been responsible for, we know what is responsible for most of our failures. Last year we released technical reports for collapse of buildings, numbers 22 and number 23. And in all these, we saw that the use of inferior materials, even if the specification dictates otherwise, is primarily responsible for failures on our infrastructure and buildings. You know, people want to cut costs. People don't want supervision. And people are willing to go for very inferior manpower. We've also identified a lack of capacity in the country. If it is roads, we don't have people who are trained for the rolling works, the compaction works that goes on the roads. It's basic mathematics, it's basic science, it's applied science that is being done there. And we think that the field man should have a basic appreciation of what he is doing. Why is he doing this? Where is he aiming at? If he doesn't have it, let there be somebody there to guide him. The same thing in building. You have masons, you have carpenters, you have block layers who barely spend 2 weeks in apprentice, and they graduate and they are doing the work in this country. They don't know why they are mixing concrete of specified mixed ratio. And consequently, when they are left on their own, they cast and there's catastrophe.
But don't you think that puts us in a big risk with this sort of scenario which you have painted? Because you would expect an institute like NIBRI to say, okay, perhaps these are the problems, these are the challenges we're facing. What can we do to see that we tackle some of these problems?
We as an institute are addressing it. You probably listened towards the end of the year, we had a number of programs of National Orientation Agency, enlightenment programs, sensitization programs, to radio programs, and we have had quite a number of channels on this issue. We are appealing to Nigerians to change some basic habits. We have also initiated a discussion where we want to develop a curriculum for our artisans and for our masons and craftsmen, so that with time, there are short-term measures. The long-term solution is that these people should be trained. We ourselves have gone out in the field and done some training programs. The ones that you haven't captured in your previous interviews is the Ondo experiment we just had. The Wealth Creation Agency of Ondo is creating a number of enterprises using interlocking block technology, and we've gone there and trained people in this regard. And in May this year, you are invited to a major conference that is going to be held by NIBRI in collaboration with professional associations, in collaboration with National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, in collaboration with Standard Organization of Nigeria. We are holding a major national conference on building collapse, and the aim is to address the incessant incidences of collapse and possibly look at avenues to mitigate or to reduce these effects.
All right, now when we look at building in general, a raw material, a main raw material that comes to mind is the cement.
Yeah.
Of course, we know how pivotal it is in making constructions easy and for worthwhile, rather, if you might put it that way. But let's just talk about Nibri Cement. If you have some information that you would like to share with us on that.
Well, first of all, cement is a basic binder. Stone aggregates are the strength component of concrete. And then the sand, because you have cement, sand, stone aggregates. The sand is a filler. And each of them contributes to the cost element of concrete. What we are saying is that there is a library of research, both within Nibri, within the university sector, within the tertiary education sector, in Nigeria and outside Nigeria, which has authenticated the fact that waste products, many waste products, when they are incinerated and grounded and sieved, and then you introduce an element of OPC into them, they develop this ability to cement materials together. Now, this kind of waste materials are called pozzolanas. And these pozzolanas are already forming a large proportion or a large replacement of cement proportion in many countries. The US uses a lot of fly ash from their power industries to process pozzolanic cement. South Africa does the same. Ghana develops its own from clay. Now, all over the world, these are viable alternatives.
So are you saying that the cement will be provided free for Nigerians when it does come on stream? Because we all know the problems associated with Nigerians trying to buy the cement. It's so expensive and all whatnot. So what should we be expecting from
Well,
this?
there will be no need Nibri trying if it's going to be more expensive than the conventional cement. The first point you need to note is that it is environmentally friendly. It's going to mop up the environment of some waste. The second thing you are going to note, and I want to emphasize this, Nibri cement, pozzolanic cement, doesn't mean that there is no component of the conventional cement in the concrete. It means the proportion of the conventional cement will be reduced.
Will be reduced.
Will be reduced because they have to go together. The third thing is that there is going to be a cut in cost. Basically, we'll be able to analyze this when we look at our production cost, but definitely it's a much cheaper process and it's going to lead to cheaper product. We'll, when we reach the pilot plant and we have been able to produce, we'll be able to give you figures from our trials in the field. What will be the cut in cost?
So apart from Alta, we also expect that we'll have more of these plants scattered in the several parts of the country.
We want to use the Alta as a basis for experiment. And once we have succeeded there, we want to establish more pilot plants. What it entails is going to identify the raw material, which is waste product, and then we will start replicating them. And then we will encourage that entrepreneurs in the country will take it over at a certain stage and go into commercial production.
Now, looking at all these, would you say that we are actually ready to develop our potentials in terms of construction? Because at this point in our national life, you will expect that local construction companies, indigenous construction companies, will come to the fore in seeing that things are being done the way the foreign construction companies do their jobs. Now, is there any hope in sight?
I think we have been going in circles over the years. We've been going in circles because at a certain stage, the construction industry was totally dominated by foreign companies. Now, we have gone somewhere, many indigenous companies have come in, and through this vicious circle in Nigeria, where a little wrong in a construction company is identified, everybody goes all out through our corrective mechanism, and we end up wiping it out from existence. Because a lot of local construction companies, like Tata Sahoe in Abuja, has a very large element of indigenization in it. Even the Julius Baeza that some years back was totally foreigners, Germans in particular, some English people and others. It has the majority of its workers now are Nigerians who operate either their cranes and their telescopic cranes and others, you know. So there are good Nigerian construction companies. They should be encouraged. Now, whether we have capabilities, I can assure you that most designs, most major civil engineering and construction designs, they are done locally. When it comes to issues of managerial and equipment, that we falter. So Nigerians have got lots of capabilities and they should be encouraged in this respect.
All right, we take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue with our discussion with the Director General of the Nigeria Building and Road Research Institute, looking at the parastatal saddled with the responsibility of making sure that building construction in Nigeria gets to a level that we all can be proud of. And of course, a lot has been said, but we'll be right back for more on Question Time. Please stay with us.
Story. On Art House, we start from the beginning.
The mixture of colors and the brushstrokes. The chiseled wonders that link art and science. The steps in each performance. The highs and the lows of emotion. The world of words, rhymes and rhythms.
But this is not a political poem, it's a revolution. It's the evolution of a people refusing to suffer and smile no more.
On every page, all the elements of a good read. Where else can you get it? Art House. Life is art.
You're welcome back. You're still watching Channels Television. It's Question Time, and we're speaking with our guest, the Director General of the Nigeria Building and Road Research Institute, Professor Bello Slim Matuwal. Of course, we're back from the break, and we've said much concerning the institute as it is presently and what has been done in the past few months, or shall I say 1 year, since you assumed office. Now, let's come down to a state like Lagos. Now, we all know Lagos tends to pride itself as one state where you have some landmark constructions in terms of buildings, roads, and all whatnot. But I want to look at the roads issue now. Recently, the state government invented some grey color bricks, sort of to serve as a way of patching up roads that have been perhaps with potholed roads or roads that have gone bad for a while now. Holistically now, are we looking at that sort of innovation in NIBRI here?
Well, what I suspect is happening in Lagos is that the issue of drainage on our roads is being addressed primarily after materials specifications. The next thing that comes in is drainage on our roads. And if you use some innovation in the areas of having an infrastructural, a pavement structure that actually adjusts itself to deformation of movements of the pavement, then you have a longer lasting pavement. And secondly, this has to be laid on some drainage blanket. And that could be sand or quarry dust, you know, so that each time there is a displacement, it adjusts itself, but it also at the same time possesses the structural strength to take on the traffic that plies over it. I believe that is what Lagos is addressing. But
So-
you know, Lagos has one of the biggest traffics in the country, and
That's right.
a lot of things have to be done. for
That's right.
Lagos.
But looking at it generally now, do we have some similar form of innovation in Nibri that has been undertaken?
No, we have our interlocking stone pavement technology. The machines have been designed, even the molds have been designed, and we have been giving them out in order to promote the technology. It's very similar to what you are saying.
Now, let's go to the education sector now, the tertiary schools in particular. What's been done to ensure that we have experts coming into Nibri to see what they can contribute to the development of Nibri as it is? Because definitely, like you said, research is the main thing here. And we don't want to be seen lagging behind. What progress has been made in that direction?
Well, I just want to assure the public, I want to assure my friends in the tertiary education sector.
Because you're from there, actually.
Yes, that we have been very open and accessible to them. A number of them have applied to come here for a specified period, and we are prepared in the long term to accommodate them. Even the visitors, the external assessors for our laboratories that I mentioned earlier, they came from the university. And then we have had a stakeholders forum last year in which they participated quite comprehensively in articulating a number of situations in order to give us a future direction. They still come in very freely. Our primary resource base for field investigation has come from the universities. We have used people from University of Lagos. We have used people from Ahmadu Bello University. We have used people from University of Ibadan. We have used our neighbors in Ota from Covenant University. And then we are always extending a hand of friendship to the University of Abuja, University of Jos, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi. We don't have all the resources, so we have to work in synergy. And the people who have most of the technical people in sufficient number are in the universities.
There's this argument from researchers, building researchers, roads construction experts, that trucks, heavily loaded trucks that ply major roads or highways tend to damage these roads, especially during the day when they ply the roads. I don't know how you would react to that argument.
Yeah, I think it's very simple. The structural strength of the road is provided by the soil under, and that soil is classified because you need to have soil of specific strength to meet all the structural requirements of the traffic loading that goes over it. Then on top of it, there are protections provided by the asphalt pavement overlay. And this asphalt, you know, is produced either in the fractional distillation of refineries. Nigerian crude petroleum is too light to produce. So in the past, we imported Venezuelan crude oil to refine in Kaduna in order to get bitumen, or we import the bitumen, or we bring tars. What I'm saying is that this material has got a viscosity. It has got a melting point where when you raise the temperature, it actually becomes liquid. And then in between, and the situation where it is hard, it is susceptible to some temperature effects.
You mean weather?
Not temperature in the sense that you are mentioning day and night.
Yes,
In
right.
the afternoon, the temperatures rise. Now, the design should be such that it remains solid for our own weather situations. And probably that's where you have formed your opinion, that in the afternoon, the temperatures on our pavements rise. It gets sort of elastic, and therefore, each time a heavy truck passes over it, it either gets it deformed, but most of the destruction, the development of potholes comes from the application of brakes. I know that the axle load of a truck is very high. So when it brakes, if the pavement is not strong enough, the propensity is for it to drag it along and create the first crack on a pavement, which circular loading will keep expanding until the pothole develops in that spot. That's where the opinion has been formed. But I want to say that it's deficient design if the disparity of temperatures in the day and in the night should bring about these effects. What I want to say is that our trucks tend to get overloaded. And this is very important, that there should be control on the loading on trucks in order to conserve, because they are designed for specified axle load. I guess this is where the problem comes from.
Now, let's look at the issue of housing. Of course, that is one of the key areas where government over time has stated its commitment to ensuring that many Nigerians have their own houses. And of course, I'm sure the Institute also has a mandate to ensure that Nigerians can provide for themselves affordable housing. Of course, the government also has a role to play, but are we really getting it right in that area?
Well, I'm happy to announce that governments have been showing interest. The Federal Ministry of Housing has been struggling to integrate our technology into housing for Nigerians, and we want to praise the commitment of the Ministry of Housing, Environment, well, they call it Lands, Housing and Urban Development in this regard. We have also had lots of interest. Kano State government has invited us. We should have been there, but I think there have been some security challenges in Kano that has got their attention diverted when we were supposed to meet up with appointments. I think there has been effort by governments to various levels at different times. I think government should look at a holistic approach and incorporate some of the solutions provided in yesteryears with those of today. We have Shagari housing that has never been occupied in many parts of this country by anybody, because when people who need the houses want to occupy them and they don't have the resources to build their own, it says it's illegal for them to enter, and yet it's reptiles occupying all those places. And not only that, everybody has brought his own idea, and I think we should incorporate all of them together and provide. And of course, also, it depends on whether we're talking of social housing or we're talking of affordable housing. What are we really talking about?
What are we actually talking about?
Yes.
All right, now, you talked about presentation while you were speaking, and I just wondered again, these materials, these building technologies at the Institute, how easy will it be for Nigerians to have access to some of these materials? Or at least for a layman who does know nothing at all about these things, how does he...
Actually,
what has been done?
It's a fantastic question you brought up, because it only takes me to a presentation and an initiative of the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology that has been pursuing since late last year, the ward-based cluster concept, in which pilot wards in this country, to be very specific, 7 wards corresponding to 6, 1 in each geopolitical zone, and then the 7th one in Abuja, have been chosen to promote what is called the cluster concept, in which one of the things is that for each ward, Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute, NIBRI, will go and provide an access feeder road, primarily for agriculture and for the movement of goods and products within the villages. And in the process, very specific, is about 10 kilometers each ward. And in the process, we will use the labor of the community. We are supposed to leave basic equipment from NIBRI there, and we are yet to solve how that will be done, but if there are funding. And then after we have done that, we also use the labor from the community, so that when we have left, the people have acquired the technology. They can use it to promote to adjoining wards and adjoining villages. And then the same thing, we are supposed to build 10 homes using NIBRI technology. And there will be 1 bedroom, there will be 2 bedrooms, there are 3 bedrooms. And how this is
for the people, meant for the people, for the masses?
Yeah, meant for the people. It's not going to be randomly done. We've gone, people have seen the idea, and they have surrendered that their homes can be used as example. One of the wards is Tudunwada ward in Zaria. We have...
is it going to cost them anything? I mean,
No, the only thing the community needs to contribute, one is its community development organization, which will be used for implementation. They will provide labor, we'll use their labor so that the technology is left for them after we have departed. Now, this is part of it where NIBRI will be involved. There are others, for example, other science and technology parastatals will go in. For example, some will give, like Energy Commission of Nigeria would install some kilowatt capacity of power using renewable energy sources, primarily solar and hydro.
Okay.
And then we have people like Raw Materials Research and Development Agency, which will bring some industrial processes. And all these ones are supposed to empower the people with jobs, in line with their abilities, in line with their specialization, in line with what they specialize in producing.
So I'm sure it is going to be a very interesting era from what you just said, and I'm sure we'll be watching and hope that things turn out for the better. Absolutely. Professor Matuwa, we thank you very much for spending time with us in Question Time.
It's always been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. There's no doubt that science and technology is regarded as the bedrock of any meaningful development and growth in any given society or country, so long as the country understands the laws of nature and manipulate those laws to the direction of production. Our guest believes that NIBRI has made giant strides in trying to fashion out indigenous technology useful for building and road construction. The time has indeed come for Nigeria to begin to appreciate these technologies, and the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology will do well to ensure that it gives the parastatal the needed support, particularly in the area of funding for NIBRI to conduct its research. Well, that's our package for the week. Remember, you can send your questions, comments and suggestions at questiontime@channelstv.com, or you can also watch us online at channelstv.com. I'm Ayatunde Bala, going to come your way again next week. It's bye for now.